I am pleased to be joined by legendary men's basketball head coach Jim Boeheim, of course, of Syracuse University. Jim, let's get right into it. We're a couple days off from March Madness. Of course, the NIL discussion really dominates college basketball these days. I heard you in a recent interview, someone asked you, is NIL kind of good or bad for the game? And you basically said, look, it is what it is. Like, it's here. So it's almost kind of pointless to talk about whether it's good or bad anymore. But I do think it's valuable to hear from someone like you in a particular lens, which is when money is the driving factor for competitive balance rather than program reputation or coaching. Is that good for the game of college basketball?
Well, it's what it is. I mean, I think players still are looking for a good place, a good school, or a good coach. And if the money's about the same, they pick the school that's the best school or the best choice for them. So I don't think it's all good or bad. I think it's somewhere in the between. The good news is a school like Vanderbilt can put together a class in 1 year and be in the top 20 in the country, as Indiana football did, as Virginia basketball did. They were down. They brought in a new coach, a good coach. They spent money, and they have a really good team. And the good thing for college basketball is there's 40 or 50 Europeans playing in this country in college that wouldn't be because of the money. And there's 30, 40 seniors and juniors that stayed in college basketball. So you have a much better product. You have much better teams, much better games. And we'll have a great tournament because there's a lot of good, really good basketball teams. When you get down to the final 16, I think you'll see most of them are capable of winning the national championship. So that's the good side to NIL. I mean, we need to get it regulated. You need to get contracts, salary caps, and that. And I think that's a little ways away. I think Congress has to do something, and I think they will. I've heard that they will do something, but that's still a little ways away, probably.
Let's talk about the tournament a little bit. It strikes me that while the good side of this is that you may have some really close, tight games, as you said, in like the last 16 on, you may be losing what I consider to be the magic of March Madness, which is the Cinderella story. Do you think that storyline is exaggerated and it's simply too quick to know if we're going to lose that? Or is the writing on the wall that you can kind of plainly state it's going to be way more difficult for one of these mid-majors to make a run?
Way more difficult. And again, that didn't happen that often. I mean, you have a few isolated cases, George Mason, Butler, Virginia Commonwealth when Shaka was down there. You have a few of those cases. Those are going to be really hard now because the Power Five schools have been able to consolidate players and get a better group. I think it's always possible in Miami, Ohio, could make a run. High Point's good this year. Certainly Utah State's very good, and has been good for a while. So I think you can still get a little bit, but I'd say it's very unlikely any of those schools will ever make the Final Four again. Maybe a Sweet 16, but even that is going to be hard. But the trade-off is you have better teams in the Sweet 16. You have really good basketball teams and really good games. I mean, you saw it this weekend. Vanderbilt, beats a team that was picked to be much better than Florida. Michigan has to go to the wire and loses to Purdue. You know, Arizona went right to the wire. Duke went right to the wire. So if that can happen in a conference tournament, it can certainly happen in the NCAA. And all those top five seeds, 4 or 5 seeds, are vulnerable. Connecticut was thought to be a 1 seed. St. John's knocks them off. So, I mean, you got a lot of teams that can beat you out there. That's what the beauty of the NCAA tournament is. It won't be Cinderella, but it'll be a lower seed knocking off a top seed. And that's going to happen for sure. I think last year all the top seeds got through, but I don't think that's going to happen. This year it could. There are really good teams there, but they could be beat too.
One school you did not list in that list was Syracuse. Syracuse, as we kind of referenced before, when money is dictating and frankly you're not coaching anymore, Syracuse strikes me as more vulnerable in this world. I've heard you say before that if Syracuse could get to about $10 million spent on the men's basketball team, they would be competitive. I have a couple questions for you on that front. First of
Yep.
all,
Mhm,
how
sure.
how do you allocate that $10 million? Is there sort of a right way to saying, okay, we need to spend this amount of money on our top
Yeah.
two players? What
Yeah.
what what is the right way of doing that for a college basketball team?
Well, the right way is to get the right players, not necessarily a player or two players. It's get the right balance. Virginia did that with a couple bigs, a couple good guards, a couple good forwards. You have to be balanced. I believe if Syracuse gets to that, right now it's kind of a $10 million threshold. I think we can win. I don't think we did that the last 2 years, and we couldn't win. I think you have to get into that neighborhood of 10 million. Now you can spend 10 million and lose. Teams have done that. Teams have spent tons of money in football and lost. So it's not a guarantee, but if you get to that 10 million, 8, 10 million area and you get the right players, the right combination of players, Vanderbilt did it. Certainly Virginia did it in our league. Louisville's done a good job of that. Miami did a really good job in our league this year of getting the right players. Uh, Jay Lucas did a really good coaching job. But yeah, I mean, you can turn it around. Syracuse can turn it around. The new AD will hire, I think, will get a good coach here. And I believe that, Syracuse, the good news is you can be bad in 1 year, you can be good. That's the good news with the portal. If you get the right guys, it's getting the right guys and putting them together. So it's a combination of players, coaching, but without the money and without players, you're not winning.
Syracuse is in a precarious position in this world because Syracuse wants to maintain competitiveness in football and also in basketball. Are you concerned that if a few years go by and Syracuse is not raising enough money, that the school may need to pick a lane?
Well, we have to win. I don't know whether it's going to be, nobody knows it's going to be, whether it's going to be a split 40, 50, 60 schools. I hope it's 60, then you get a lot of, you get almost all the good teams in a new, whatever the new form takes place. But it's important to be good in football first. That's what counts. And Fran Brown, I think, is a really good football coach. I think he'll get something done here. And it's good to be good in basketball. And those, in the next 3 years, it's going to work out one way or the other. You're going to be in or you're going to be out. Hopefully, we'll be in and have a good future in college athletics. But that's up in the air right now. The whole NIL deal, how that proceeds forward, that's all up in the air and it's got to be figured out. The leadership needs to get better. Um, if Congress has to act, then Congress has to act, which is asking a lot, but hopefully that can happen and we can get to a good place. But there's a lot up in the air, and the only thing you can do for certain is control what you can control. We have to get good in football and basketball.
You mentioned the new Syracuse athletic director, Brian Blair, and the fact that Syracuse is now in the market looking for a new head coach. Has he spoken to you at all to potentially contribute in that hiring process?
I've talked to him a couple times already. He seems to be a guy that's willing to talk to a lot of people and to learn, to make the right choice. It'll be his decision 100%. I think he is going about the process now. I think there are some really good candidates out there, and I believe he'll come up with a good
Well,
leader
what
here.
what what do you think he should be hiring for? In other words, are there particular characteristics that you think would make for a good next head coach for Syracuse?
I mean, the same for every head coach, competitiveness and knowledge of the game, be able to recruit. All those things go into what a head coach is and what a head coach has to do. And he's going to find somebody that fits that description. This is still a very good job. We have Good jobs are defined by you have fans. We have fans. We have good fans. They'll come to the games. Even though we were down this year, we're still in the top six in the country in attendance. That's better than 344 other schools. So yeah, I mean, we have fans and we have a great place to play. I think our new athletic director will get us a really good coach.
You made some comments last week that previous head coach Adrian Autry was sort of hamstrung by the fact that Syracuse's two best players simply didn't play very well this year. That got
Yeah.
me thinking, like, how much of the responsibility is on the coach in a situation like that? If you kind of see the writing on the wall that these guys aren't playing very well, is it incumbent on the coach to be like, we got to do something different here? Or is it as simple as, look, we can only put these guys in position to make shots. If they don't go in, they don't go in?
If your two best players don't play good, you got guys on the bench aren't going to help you enough. They were freshmen anyway, and they're not ready. So it's just one of those things. I mean, I'm pretty truthful about what I say. The head coach can't say that because, then he'd be knocking his players. But, I mean, they just didn't have good years. And it's not some outlandish thing. It's just the truth. And they know they didn't have good years. And really, our three best players didn't have good years. The three guys that we were counting on to be good didn't have good years. And they were really very close. They lost four or five really close, tough games that could have been won. But the head coach at the end is always responsible, no matter what. I mean, if you lose a game by 1 point, the players miss 15 straight free throws at the end. Obviously you could have won the game, but it's still the coach. It's still on the head coach. And, they didn't have enough money here. I think we'll have money going forward for NIL. And the players just, I mean, those guys didn't play well this year. And, I view things the way I always have. If I didn't do a good job, I said so. If our players didn't play as well as they needed to. I mean, it's easy to find why the team didn't win. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to the head coach, and uh, that's why we're in the market for a new coach.
You mentioned certain things the government could do to reform NIL. I'm curious to hear your take on how sports betting is impacting college basketball. And does there need to be reforms around that as well?
I think it's a horrible thing. I see people on their phones constantly, kids, adults. Um, I have friends who they're on their phone, like at dinner, typing in how can they win by four in the fourth quarter? Can they score 20 points in the fourth? I mean, it's crazy. I don't think it's good for young people. I think they're going to get and have got in over their heads. I think it makes a better opportunity that could be sports gambling in college by college students, athletes. It's a complicated solution, NIL, but basically it comes down to a salary cap, contracts, maybe a limit to transferring one time. Because if you transfer two times, you won't graduate. And the guys that don't graduate are the guys that aren't playing professional basketball, most likely, and they're going to need a degree and they won't have a degree because when you transfer, you lose too many credits. So that's the issue. But uh, I think it can be done, but it's a pro league, so you have to have the same rules the NBA and the NFL and baseball have.
Last question for you. You're still in Syracuse. You're teaching a course, right, at Syracuse right now? I'm curious to hear about that.
I've been in Syracuse 64 years. I'm too old to move. I like it. I like it here, and I enjoyed teaching a course. I had 21 students that were all way smarter than me, so it was fun to work with those students from Newhouse and Falk, and they're just brilliant
What's
kids.
what's
And
the
it was
course? What was the
really
course about?
a leadership course. We had different leaders: Greg Sankey, Mike Krzyzewski, a whole bunch of people Zoom in, give their perspectives. We actually had Greg Sankey in person, who's one of the great leaders in sports today, in the class for 2.5 hours. So it was a real good experience, and we got through it. I don't know. I'm probably not the best teacher, but uh, it was fun. The kids had a great time. They enjoyed it.
I'm curious for a leadership course. Who did you look up to, as a coach? Did you have particular leaders that were models for you?
Yeah, I mean, I watched all the great coaches, John Wooden, Bobby Knight, Dean Smith, and watched what they did, watched how they did it. My high school coach was a great leader, very organized, very disciplined. So you learn from, as a coach, you learn from all those people that are ahead of you. And it's no different in business. You work your way up in business and you learn from the leaders in business. Mike Krzyzewski speaks all over the country on leadership. I do it a little bit. Nothing different between sports and business. Get the right people, get them motivated, get them to work together. Sounds easy, but there's a reason that I think 400,000 books have been written on leadership in the last few years. That's a pretty big number. Uh, I looked that up on my phone, which I never could do before. I really not good at, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood between 400,000 and another online thing said 4 million books on leadership. So obviously there's a lot of people that have an idea of what leadership is. We had Bill Belichick's book, we had Mike Krzyzewski's book in the class. We kind of used them. John Wooden's um, pyramid of success is still, really viable and has tremendous uh, impact and can have tremendous impact on everybody. So it was fun doing, and I told a few stories about different situations that I saw in the Olympic team and at Syracuse, and it was a real good experience.
Now you just need to find a really wealthy donor to help boost the basketball team for next season.
Well, no, unfortunately, it really, if you look at the major programs, they have two or three or four big boosters. You can't raise $35 million by asking people for $50,000. I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure to raise 40 million dollars to at 50,000 a piece. I'm not going to do the math because I wasn't good at it, but you need a lot of people. And if you're Oregon, you call Phil Knight, you know. But Texas schools, obviously, we all know have big hitters. And but yeah, that's the best way uh, to raise the money. Otherwise, it's got to be a collaborative effort from the school and all the major donors that are involved with the school.
Well, I'm confident we have some wealthy Newhouse graduates that are listening to this podcast as we speak, so you know who to call. Thanks, Coach Boeheim. Appreciate the time, and maybe next year we'll be talking about Syracuse as a viable tournament participant.
I hope so. It can be turned around quickly, and I hope it will be. I think it will be here.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.